What's up, guys? Welcome to another edition of the Critical Beard Podcast. I'm your host, Robin the Cardinal. Next to me is the Meatball Formolo. And today we have a special guest, That Nerdy Vegan, Justin.
Hi, everybody. I'm That Nerdy Vegan. If you want to find me on social media platforms, I should be launching a YouTube channel soon. My own podcast called Nerdy Vegan Vittles. I have a blog spot under thatnerdyvegan.blogspot.com. I have not updated that in a year. Probably start doing some text-based posting soon-ish, hopefully. But yeah, once my capture card gets here, I'll be launching a YouTube channel and possibly a Twitch stream of my own.
Nice.
Hell yeah. Well, we like to start with a segment called What You Playing. Justin, what you playing?
Well, right now, since they finally put it up on Switch on the SNES Online Classic section, I've been playing Donkey Kong Country. Just finished a full run of Super Mario World as well. All 96 exits.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Such a good game.
Yeah, well, I played it differently this time. Normally, like, special is one of the first things I go through, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to beat it this time. Get all the way up to into Valley of Bowser without doing special, then go out and do special, and then change everything. So I was like, okay, yep, that's about how I remember playing it, like as I was when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Here in a minute, I'll probably be going back to the old Zelda titles, going through all those again, because nothing brings nostalgia to me like an old Zelda game. So.
Mm-hmm.
Hell yeah. Maybe we even talk about that later.
Maybe. We haven't decided.
What about you, Meatball?
I'm still going through Final Fantasy II on the Game Boy Advance.
You hate it.
I hate it.
And
No,
love
I'm just
it.
kidding. Actually, this my review is going to be full of controversial opinions.
Whoa.
I know.
Scandal.
Put on your goggles and stuff because there's going to be opinions flying everywhere.
Whoa.
Because I don't actually hate the game. It's not a great game. It might not even be a good game, but it's a game.
Back of the box.
The end. That's my review.
It's a
And
game.
I don't even need to do
Meatball.
anything. Yeah, quote unquote. It's a game. Meatball 2020. But what you been playing, Cardman?
I finished up the main quest, the dragon quest. It was a quest, and there were dragons.
Wait,
Dragon
was there a
Quest
dragon
11
though?
Wait, hold on. Dragon Quest 11, Echoes of an Elusive Age, S, Ultra Edition,
They definitely got someone from Capcom to
Yeah.
make that title.
or Square. Oh wait, it is Square.
Oh wait, this Square. What have you
Kingdom
become?
Hearts team took that one on.
Yeah.
Finished that up.
Uh-huh.
I don't think I'm going to be playing too much more of the post game because I got to a point where you basically have to be level 99 to progress. So I jumped over. I've been playing a little Fall Guys on PS4 because it's free this month. Battle Royale game show. It's really fun. If you want to see some gameplay footage, we got some on the channel. I live streamed it the other night. There's about an hour of gameplay. Check it out. I'm kind of funny. Not really. So then I also just started replaying today Final Fantasy IX on the Switch because it was on sale. I had to pick that bad boy up and complete my Final Fantasy Switch collection.
Oh, you already picked up 8 on there?
I got 7, I got 8, and I got 9.
Wait, you got 12? Zodiac Age?
I got that Zodiac Age. 10 does not exist.
10? Why do you hate on 10 so much, man?
No, 10-2 does not exist. 10 is just overrated.
Unfortunately for you, when you buy 10, you have to get 10-2 as well.
Not if you get it used.
That's true,
Right?
because
Which
2 is
one's
a
the
download.
code? Yeah, if you get it used, you
10
only
2
get
is the download.
Yeah, because we love those downloads. Oh, but Japan got the freaking triple pack. Is it a triple pack or a double pack?
It's a double pack. They didn't have 9 in there.
8 and
It's just
7.
7.
Yeah, I never understood why they did that. When I bought the Mega Man X Legacy Collection, I was like, I understand that 5 through 8 has like the worst track record in the series, but I still want it on physical.
Yeah, that pissed me off. Capcom does that all the time. But and I actually did play. I started playing Donkey Kong Country last night a little bit too, just because it's on the store. Yeah,
I could do co-op online.
On the SNES online. Don't throw a free game at me that I have nostalgia for because I'll play it for like 14 minutes.
Yo, Robin.
It's not shiny no more.
Yo,
Who do you think's faster at Donkey Kong Country, you or me?
you.
You
Yeah.
think so? Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah.
I was like, you want to
profess
take
to
me
be-
on that?
I'm actually pretty terrible at Donkey Kong. I used to be a lot better when I was a kid, but But anyways, yeah. That's all. That's what I've been. That's what I've been playing at, and I don't think. Do we have any news to run through?
I mean, I wanted to talk about. I mean, y'all don't seem to find this amazing, but Earthworm Jim 4 is coming out on a new Intellivision console, which none of that sentence makes any sort of sense at all.
Hold on. Where the hell was Earthworm Jim 3?
That was 3D on the 64.
Oh,
3.
Yeah. That doesn't. This doesn't count.
I know it. To me, it doesn't really count because I didn't like that one very much. But this one, they released some footage, and it's like a 2D hand drawn kind of, the modern kind of look.
Looks, yeah. I did see that. I just thought it was like a joke. I didn't think it was real.
No, it's for reals.
Yeah, it's been a long time since I picked up an Earthworm Jim game. Wasn't the second one, first and second one on Nintendo as well as Sega, or were they Sega?
Yeah, it was multi-platform. Yeah.
Multi-plats. Those were. It's funny that those used to be the exception, and now they're the rule.
Yeah, it's kind of inverted there.
Oh, that was also that was also that era of time when they were like, "What animal can we use as a mascot? Here's 100 of them."
Yeah, but at least with Earthworm Jim, they're like Earthworm in a spacesuit with a ray gun fighting a crow with cows.
Yep.
Yeah.
At least that's
a cat that lives in hell.
Yeah, it's
yeah. That's like I was gonna say. At least that was pretty original. It's not like Bubsy, which I cannot believe they even entertained.
Still coming out with Bubsy games. They're just still selling.
Well, they totally just. I don't. Yeah, the Bubsy phenomenon is so strange because like they put that Kickstarter up and like I think people gave money just as a joke, but they didn't realize they were actually funding a real life Bubsy game. It's a shame.
It was like the only good one I think was Closet Encounters of the Third Kind. That was probably the only one that was decent.
That's like and that's like the turd with the least amount of flies on it. It's like, well, it doesn't have a lot of flies on it. It's still a turd.
I just remember like my stepmother picked up a bunch of garage sale games for me one time, and I ended up getting Bubsy 3D, and that was the worst game I've ever played.
Yeah, that was one on PS1, right?
Yes.
I went through played that because I
went through a good selection of those bad mascot games, and I think Punky Skunk and Jersey Devil were a lot better than that one.
Oh, they were better. Like
what about the glove? Which one was that?
Glover. That was on 64.
Glover? Yeah.
So they're like, let's make a let's take the what is it, the hamburger helper guy?
Yeah.
And just make a game about him.
Hamburger helper.
Hamburger.
But so then a couple other little tiny things. It looks like Halo, the new Halo got delayed, which was like the big launch boon for Xbox. So
Sorry,
what's gonna happen there? But
no.
That was kind of their like big thing. That was their push. So that got delayed till next year. So there's obviously speculation that Xbox could get delayed till next year. Also, maybe both systems. I don't know.
I mean, with 2020 happening, I would not be surprised if they were pushed to 2021.
Yeah, because at least like if we start the new year with like new consoles and then everyone's just refreshed and like because we just forget about this year. Can we just tomorrow? Can we just start 2021 tomorrow?
No, that means that would ruin 2021. We have to let 2020 ride it out, man.
Yeah. Let's just get through the year already.
Get through the sinker. But yeah, I mean, other than that, there's not really a ton of stuff to talk about. So
supposedly in the rumor mill, there's a Nintendo Direct supposed to happen on August 20th. And also Toys for Bob may also be releasing Crash 4 at launch with the Switch, not later on down the road like it has.
I imagine they will, just because it went over so well on the Switch.
Yeah, I think the Crash Insane Trilogy actually had kind of a second wind on the Switch, because a lot of people that picked it up on the other consoles were people that played it originally on the Sony or on the PlayStation, and I'm pretty sure they're like me, and they're like, they made this playable.
for me, it's like RPGs. Like, unless I have to play it on another console, like the Switch is my platformer RPG console.
Mhm.
Like, I'm just
Yeah.
like, I don't want to play this on anything else.
Yeah.
And Metroidvanias too. Like, I feel like
It's my favorite. It's my favorite system, I think, just because there's no full console I could just go sit on the toilet with and play a good round of console gaming.
dude, the other day I like
It's really important to me.
I like turned it on and like scrolled through a bunch of games I have, like, and I was just like, okay, well, looks like I'm gonna play Smash Brothers again. It's like,
Well, and on top of that, you know, there are so many of the third-party stuff, the indie stuff's available on the Switch.
Mhm.
You know, it's like you were saying, I can be in the restroom or I can be at a restaurant somewhere and I can boot up Ori and the Blind Forest, Hollow Knight,
Yeah.
games that people are excited about on PC and the other the big console
you
systems.
see a lot of that Steam and Switch like thing where it's just Steam and Switch, and it's like they don't even like bought like Hollow Knight and stuff, like they didn't even come to you know, big consoles till later, because
Except Xbox.
Yeah.
It launched on Xbox.
did it?
Yeah, it's a Microsoft game. But
What,
yeah, no,
Hollow Knight?
not Hollow Knight, Ori. Sorry, wrong game.
Yeah. I thought I said Hollow Knight. I think I said Hollow Knight. Yeah. Hollow Knight launched on Switch and Steam first, and then it wasn't on any of the main consoles for like a few, like 6 months to a year. Yeah. Anyways, so we're gonna cruise from the news over to our main topic, which is, you guys. Hey, I got a question for you.
Zelda.
What
Zelda.
what makes the Zelda franchise so fucking cool? Why is this such a good franchise? And what made it become, and why is it still so good?
It doesn't suck.
And even when it sucks, it's still better than most games.
And exactly.
Even when it
Except for
sucks,
Zelda
it still
2.
makes good memes.
Yes, thank you, Skyward Sword Link, with your wonderful expressions.
I hot take. I like Skyward Sword a lot.
Oh, I do too. I still think it's one of the worst Zelda games, though.
Still,
But see,
I still had a blast.
that just goes to show you
Yeah.
how quality of a franchise it is. There's like, even the stinkers are still like, you know, they're still like, I'd still play them. Like the only unplayable Zelda is the 32. Or I mean the like, why do I always say 32X?
The
I don't
CDI.
know. The CDI, the
CDI.
Philips. Those I don't.
Those
Those are
don't exist.
definitely.
They don't
definitely-
exist.
They definitely exist. They're just the farthest away from actual importance at all. It's like saying like Hotel Mario. That's a Mario game. No.
Well, the same goes for Mario is Missing.
I do have some good memories with Mario is Missing though. I remember.
I do too.
I think my aunt gave me a copy or something, or like I played it at my cousin's house, and I don't know, it was a Mario game. I was like, cool.
I was like, I remember.
Mario game you played when you like beat all the other ones that you just didn't have any more left to play. So you were like, all right.
Yeah, it's like I remember picking it up at like Blockbuster when I was like 7, in between bouts of getting Mega Man X2 and 3, and I was sitting there and I was like, okay, this isn't good. And took it back, and then I realized, oh my, and then I grew up, I ended up picking it up again. I'm like, oh my god, they tried to force math on me.
Yeah.
There is more.
It was history though, right? It was like a history game or something.
Yeah, well, it kind of had educational topics in regards to everything, because it was like history and all that stuff. I did like the fact that
it was not.
But I also did like the fact that Mario traveled to real world locations, and they actually translated that into gameplay really well.
Yeah.
Mario, there are more bad Mario titles than there are Zelda titles. You can take that to the bank.
Excuse me.
Right. Yeah. And so speaking of Mario and Zelda, I think there's a holy trinity, if you will, a triforce maybe.
A triforce. That's the thing from the game.
Of what made at least the first Zelda so impactful, and then of course most of these people just carried on the legacy or the legend, if you will.
I hate you so much.
No.
Da,
Takeshi Tazaka.
Need to hold up a card. Laugh, guest, laugh.
Takeshi Tezaka, Shigeru Miyamoto, and
Miyamoto?
Miyamoto?
Wait.
What? Do we live in Japan? Do I have to pronounce these
It's
perfectly?
Miyamoto. It's easy to pronounce.
Miyamoto, it's easy to pronounce. And Koji Kondo. Did I say that correctly?
Yeah, you got that right.
Yeah, you got that one right.
Koji Kondo is a beast, man. He made all of the best music that is in our brains.
Well,
was made
Mario
by him.
and Zelda wise.
Yeah, and that's my brain
But
is
that
pretty
is
much
our
comprised
brains,
of
probably.
Koji Kondo music.
Yeah, I mean, I think those three guys, like, they pretty much, I think, like, you had Takeshi, who was like the left-brained, like more like you know, like laser focused one, and then you had Shigeru, who was like the more like out there right-brained, you know, just kind of had these crazy fucking ideas, and they like, so that whole it's so crazy it just might work thing. Miyamoto definitely he shows that that's a real thing, and then of course Koji Kondo holds it all together with his fucking beautiful music, which is all on loop. So you had to listen to that shit like constantly. So like the fact that he made those tracks so good, and I would argue that the Legend of Zelda theme is the most iconic video game sound like piece of music of all time. Yeah. Maybe second to Mario.
Second to Mario. One. Yeah, maybe Mario 1. Yeah.
But it's both Koji Kondo. So
it's both Koji Kondo. That's what I say when I say Koji Kondo is integral to our video game audio consciousness, because everyone heard him when they were a kid, either from Mario or Zelda or Mario or Zelda again, or even Mario.
Wasn't he the composer of the early Metroid titles too?
Nope.
No, he wasn't. Okay.
No, he did Devil World, and then he pretty much just did Zelda and Mario after that.
Yeah.
There's a few little things here and there, but yeah, and then even now he's like still doing at least 1 or 2 tracks in Zelda games. He may not do the whole thing.
He's become the Uematsu.
Yeah.
It's like, I'll come in and I'll do the title track, but I'm retired, man. I gotta.
But Mitsuda does that too.
Yeah, Mitsuda does that too.
But yeah, man. I mean, those 3 guys, or you had the like yin yang of the designers, like, and they worked so seamlessly together. And you had the dude that created just some of the most memorable music of all time, and then those chip tunes. Man, that shit. And you know, personally, like Miyamoto with his whole the little boy in the woods with a stick thing, which was basically his. I mean, that sounds dirty, but
no, but seriously, like, it really taps into something, because when I was a kid, that's what I would play. Yep. We had some woods in the back, and I just go grab a stick and go play in the woods with a stick. So yeah. And that's the kind of feeling that Zelda. I mean, it's different. It's kind of different now. Not really with Breath of the Wild. It kind of took back. It kind of takes you back to the open adventureness. But for a while there, they've got more and more structure. I don't know, the structure of Zelda games, it was like really wide, and then it just got more and more linear, and it just kind of opened back up.
I would argue the more structure, the more they strayed away from the boy with the stick in the woods, the less compelling those adventures were. That's why. Yeah. I think the more like open-ended ones are the more successful ones, because I still got that feeling, even though Ocarina of Time was more like linear than, of course, like Breath of the Wild, but like it still had that feeling of just like what's over there, like what's over there, you know, like and there's definitely a few Zelda spirit tracks that totally.
What did you say?
Do away with.
I like spirit tracks. Okay.
You know.
I'm on a
train.
You
love like spirit tracks.
I'm on a train.
DS Zeldas are the only ones I haven't played. So
I liked them. I thought they were quite interesting and original. You know, he's just a hater. Don't listen to him.
I know. I Spirit Tracks is my least favorite Zelda outside of the Philips ones.
Wait, you hate like you'd rather play Zelda 2 than Spirit Tracks?
Oh yeah.
Phantom Hourglass I can get, because the titular Phantom Tower thing is
Temple, the Ocean King.
It's one of the worst design choices ever. It's so bad.
I didn't. Well, for one, I also didn't like how you on the DS titles. It was honestly, it was between Phantom Hourglass and Spirit Tracks for me, just because you control Link with the fucking stylus. I mean, that's like, dude.
I did not have a problem with it.
Oh,
Yeah,
You just need a controller, man. Give me some crazy controller gimmicks. Give me the Wiimote. Give me
bother me because I did attempt Phantom Hourglass. I ended up putting it down because I got stared at in public because, of course, the mic on the DS couldn't pick up.
You had to blow.
Just regular one. I had to like scream at it to
the
candles.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I'm not going to be sitting here in public looking like a 5-year-old throwing a tantrum.
Oh, come on, man.
Just to get these candles to go out. So it was after that I was like, maybe if they spent a little bit more time.
So what you're telling me, Justin, is you're too afraid to be looked at like a child when you're having fun playing a video game. Is that what you're trying to tell me?
No.
That reminds me, the Mario Kart DS. They had the battle mode where you blew up the balloons by blowing into the mic.
That's what it was. I was like, which one do you blow into the mic?
I remember doing that in public with me and my friend were playing, and yeah, I kind of felt like a moron, but I had fun.
Because it's one thing when you have this like big piece of like colored plastic and you're staring at it like a little kid, but then you're like, and everyone's like, oh shit, this guy is crazy.
Well, it's like Super Princess Peach when she's in the umbrella submarine. You had to like blow into the mic for her to use to blow the bubbles out to attack. And like I said, you had to make sound for it to actually register that you were blowing bubbles.
Just sneeze. Just pretend you're sneezing.
Well, I'd sit there and I was like, this was beyond the point. Like I picked up Phantom Hourglass 2 years ago. This was more recent. I just kind of sat there and I'm like, I'm gonna sound like an idiot, but I'm just sitting there looking at my DS, just so that she can attack.
And he got
so yeah. There have been experiments in the Zelda series. I think its purest form is that openness, which is funny because I just got done playing Final Fantasy 1, and one of the inspirations from Sakaguchi was Legend of Zelda, and you can really tell because just like in Legend of Zelda, you're just a person with a sword and you got to go save the princess, and then there you go.
However, take this.
Yeah, it's just like however you want to do this, you just do this. I mean, Final Fantasy has definitely lost that. I mean, even going from 1 to 2, 2 is an immediate 180 in terms of narrative usage. 2 is just like, okay, we're gonna have a linear narrative. Whoop. 1 is like, it's like Legend of Zelda, where it's just you just do whatever you want. But yeah, it makes me wonder and makes me hopeful for the future of the Zelda series.
You also got to give a little credit to Hidemuru Fujibayashi, who is he was the director. I just said it. You don't remember? Did I pronounce it wrong? He's the guy who he started as a director for the Oracle of Seasons and Oracle of Ages games on the Game Boy Color.
Which are some of the best Zelda titles, hands down.
Yeah, and he did Minish Cap as well, and then
I like that one.
And then they let him kind of start doing the 3D Zeldas after that. He did Skyward Sword, Breath of the Wild, and he's doing Breath of the Wild too. But he's kind of taken the mantle because like Miyamoto and Tazaka, they're kind of taking they're more like overseers. Like Miyamoto, I don't even think he had anything to do with Breath of the Wild. I don't know that he was even a producer. He's been a producer on like every Zelda since then, every mainline like console Zelda, not the handheld ones. But and then Tazaka was a supervisor on like every Zelda game, but I don't think either one of them really had much to do with Breath of the Wild. I think that's like the first one where it just kind of shifted, and they kind of gave Hidemuru, they gave him like full control, and then he kind of teamed up with Monolith Soft, for the world design and all that. But yeah. Koji Kondo, I don't believe even has a song in Breath of the Wild either.
Well, honestly, Breath of the Wild has like real legit music. It's all
Except for the last castle, okay?
Except for
Yeah,
Hyrule Castle, but
that's
super
probably my
dope.
least. That's probably my least favorite part of that game is the music. Like I get why they did it, and I do like the music for what it does.
it's atmospheric, and I'll give
It's
the credit
fun. Yeah.
because even the themes for the Divine Beasts are decent. They're not exceptional, but they're
Yeah.
decent.
It's just
but
with the Zelda game, that's the one thing I could always count on, even if the game isn't great. It's like at least the
it's got a
music's
killer
good.
soundtrack. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, even Skyward Sword had that. I think
Yeah,
one
it's
of
a great
the
soundtrack.
one of the standout tracks in that one, which is funny because it's one of my least favorite things to do, is the Silent Realms. It's got a beautiful like ambient night, very just beautiful sound, but that is probably the most stressful part of that game, or the Silent Realm, especially the last one.
Yeah, those give me anxiety thinking about them. I believe Koji Kondo only did the title screen, but on Skyward Sword, I don't think
Skyward Sword.
Yeah, he did one track. I believe it was the title, the theme, or the one like early on.
Like he did like the like rearrangement of the main theme or something like that.
Yeah, he definitely has credits on Skyward Sword, but he doesn't do much more than just like
As I say, watch, we find out that he's the reason why the Guardian theme is so good, because that's about the only like good music in Breath of the Wild. It just like as soon as you hear it, you're like, oh crap, I gotta run.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
song.
the best song. I mean, hands down, the best song in Breath of the Wild was the dungeon, the final dungeon, the Hyrule Castle.
Because it was the only piece of melodic music.
Yeah, but it was so cool because it
was really cool.
It inverted the
really
main
cool.
theme and made it dark, and that was really cool. Yeah. That was super metal, bro.
Well, I'd say the shrine theme is also another piece of music that's melodic. It's just really repetitive.
So we've established that the exploration and the music are definitely two huge, bullet points for why The Legend of Zelda has stayed so relevant and so good and full of quality. Also, you kind of have to give it to Nintendo that their IPs, generally speaking, are, especially their major IPs, are almost always of really high quality. Like,
I mean, they probably have the best track record in the industry in terms of like quality and success.
Like if you look at Mario, Metroid, and Zelda, I mean, how many of those suck? Like one of each, kind of.
Yeah, probably like one or two of each, but that's out of a lot of games.
Yeah, I'd say Mario probably has more than a couple, but that's only because there are so many more Mario titles than anything else. But Zelda, I'd say one, and Metroid would be the other one I would think. That would be the only one in that series I would think of.
But stuff like Takeshi Tezuka, like he actually developed like Paper Mario Thousand Year Door, and then after that whole series was off the plates of the main Nintendo and was more outsourced to different people, to Intelligent Systems, and so it kind of all these extra little studios around Nintendo. Yeah. But if you focus on like the main studio,
the A-teams,
the Mario, Metroid, Zelda, Smash, that kind of stuff.
Mr. T.
Smash is it's a Nintendo IP, but it's HAL.
Well, yeah, it's HAL Laboratories. Kirby, Earthbound, and Smash Brothers, which are where's our Mother 3 Nintendo? Come on.
So
it's been way too long.
So I mean, exploration was what kind of really set it in stone, because not a lot of games had such a large breadth of exploration in it. But I mean, the series, even by the third game, even by the second game, they just started getting smaller and smaller. I'd say by Ocarina, it was pretty much a linear
Zelda
experience.
2's got a bigger overworld than Zelda 1, even though it's just the structure of it.
But like the actual game flow is more directed. I'm not talking about just like the amount of space, but like the game design corrals the character.
Yeah, well, I was going to say Zelda 2 is also where it takes like that the old style RPGs where you're the giant head on the tiny map type thing.
The abstractness. But by Ocarina of Time, they lost pretty much all of the. I mean, go back and play Ocarina of Time now. It's like, what exploration? I'm literally just walking across this dead. Like, there's nothing in the Hyrule Field. It's just you're just walking to the other end. It's like, cool. This sure is explorative.
But the little
there's a lot of hidden stuff. Just like
those are like collectibles. Those aren't. It's not like stumbling across a tree you can burn in the first Zelda game. I don't know how the hell people were supposed to figure that out without Nintendo power. Just go around and just light shit on fire.
Let's go use your single-use candle to burn one bush. Crap, it's not the right one. Go buy another one.
I used to literally just like walk up and down like a whole like screen and burn everything I could. Just like I was playing it the other day, the first game, and in that the first castle, the tree, it's just like I forgot. Like I have so much nostalgia in that first temple because like I all I did in that one was like when I got bombs, I would just bomb every freaking wall I could possibly bomb, and I'm just like, man. And I was like, I forget how short this castle is because when I was a kid, I'm like, man, that first castle is so long.
Yeah.
I spent like 5 hours in it. It's like a 20
Did y'all ever draw maps for Zelda?
Oh yeah.
You had to like graph paper.
Mm-hmm.
Like
when I finally attempted Zelda 1, which I never finished it, but I did get pretty far into it. It was already when this technology was available, so I was just using this to help. But initially, my first Zelda was Link to the Past, so that's the quintessential first Zelda for me.
It's the best Zelda. I'm just
It's the best Zelda.
It's one of the best. I have another that I think is
Justin. Justin, do you want to be back on the program? Okay.
You can't disagree with that host. No.
What would you say? Well, like let's make a tangent. And what's your top three faves?
Mine. Starting with me. Definitely Link to the Past is number one. Hands down.
One.
Yeah,
okay.
That one's number one. I was like,
backpedal. Okay, Justin.
Yeah, I'm not backpedaling. I didn't say it wasn't my favorite. Link to the Past is always going to be one of my favorites.
I love it.
Twilight Princess is number two. Yes, I understand it's super linear, but I love the story progression. I love I love Midna. Midna is probably my favorite companion character they've ever had. And then my third is Majora's Mask, because it's just so unlike any other Zelda game, and that extreme left fieldness of it makes it so impactful. Not to mention it deals entirely with death and the stages of grief, and you don't know that as a kid playing it. You learn it later in life.
Yeah.
Sometimes not at all.
Not at all. And then what's your least favorite?
My least favorite...
not counting the CDI.
Yeah, I was going to say, Wanda Catalog. No. Least favorite, I would say Oracle of Seasons is down there. Only because, again, same issue I have with Zelda 1. Not really fond of the combat structure, which is why I love Ages, because it's puzzle structure. But I'd say Oracle of Seasons, it's not down there because it's bad. It's just not my favorite as far as the gameplay of it. Skyward Sword, way too linear. The first third or so of the game, the dungeons are boring. Not very fun to play. It comes up later on, but at the beginning, it's just not fun at all. And then I would say my absolute least favorite Zelda is probably Zelda 2. For obvious reasons.
Yeah, I think I think everyone can agree Zelda 2.
No.
It's just not very fun to play. No, Cardinal.
If you have a guide, the game is a fucking blast.
Well, guess what? We're not basing something on a guided game,
Because Zelda is a first-person adventure game, not an RPG. That is the problem with Zelda 2. It's an RPG.
I don't know what that. I think
Breath of the Wild is kind of an RPG.
My problem with Zelda 2 is always the obtuse what the heck am I supposed to do-ness, and the combat. I hate the combat in that game. It's just not. It's just not fun.
You know,
I think
you know what? One thing you have to give Zelda 2 is the animations. The animations in that game are really, really good. Like for an NES game, like when Link's fighting, you may not like the combat, but the actual animation of him stabbing and ducking and stuff looks really, really good. And I always thought it was so cool to see Link as like a full form, like complete pixel
like a
creation
person
versus the chibi Link.
Chibi Link.
Speaking of that, then Selma, what is your least and favorite Zeldas?
Favorites? I didn't even make a list. This is just gonna off the top of my head.
Well, make one and check it twice.
Link to the Past, number 1. Probably Link's Awakening, mostly because I love the music. I love the. Plus, I have a lot of nostalgia with that game. Playing it on Game Boy on long road trips.
I used to let Telltale Heights just play over and over again.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite themes, hands down. One of the best Zelda themes ever.
Oh yeah,
no, I have a lot of nostalgia with that game. And third, Zelda 2. No, I'm just kidding.
Controversial.
Controversial opinions. Warning. It's hard with Zelda because there's so many good ones. Right now, I'll probably say Twilight Princess. I actually didn't really like that game very much when it came out, mostly because it didn't. I didn't like the way it looked, like not like the style, but literally like it was just too dark for me. Everything was dark and brown, and I'm like, I can't even see what's going on half the time. But I did replay it when they did an HD re-release, and I love that game. So,
which is funny because I think the HD remake's actually a little bit darker color palette wise than the original GameCube was. It's even more muted, yeah. But
I can like see things. Like it's not all like it's not like on a CRTV. Like
the only word I can think of is like the bloom or that had that like ridiculous bloom, that blur effect that they did a lot, especially in the Twilight realm.
Yes, yeah. Yes, and kind of the hazy light around us. Yeah. That's what you're talking about.
Yeah,
yeah. Like I remember not liking that back when it came out. Like just that aspect, I couldn't get over it, but. I enjoy it now. I like the combat. I think it has some of the best combat in the series.
And I like that the moves are optional, unlike its direct predecessor, where it was literally commands.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, worst. Zelda 2. I don't like playing that game. Surprise. I mean, I'll have to say maybe the Oracle games, just because I haven't really played through them. So I don't know. Those are disqualified. I haven't played those. I'm like, I hate them. I have not played them. I don't know. I got nothing, man. I can't. Well, it's like picking your least favorite child. I don't know.
I was gonna say, if you're that ecstatic about Link's Awakening, then you'll like the Oracle games. But just take it with a grain of salt, knowing that one of them is very Zelda 1 and one of them is hardcore puzzles, and that's really it.
Yeah, and there's kangaroos, but
Rocky's cool.
I love the king. That's like the best part.
I think that originally that was supposed to be a trilogy, but I think it got cut down to
supposed to be a third one called Oracle of Secrets. Yeah.
Yeah. But they got refunding resources and funding. Got the same old story.
Well, but they did eventually allow Capcom to make their third game. Instead of being like, nope, that was your shot, we're done. They went ahead and let them do Minish Cap on the Advance.
Yeah. Which was great.
Which is also great. It's short, but it's also great.
Yeah.
Well, isn't the whole game just a little short, Justin?
Boo.
Boo. No, it's a little Minish, not a little short.
Hey, don't diminish him.
Hey.
All right, Cardinal. What about you?
I'm just like waiting for someone to tell me to go. Well, you know, John, I didn't come prepared, not at all. But I will say, my favorite Zelda is a little game you may have heard of called A Link to the Past.
Tell me more.
It's so good, guys. You guys haven't even played it, I bet. No, it's good. It's great. I love it. I mean, again, we don't have to say a lot about that.
That's one game. It's like, what's there to talk about?
It's great. It's a 10 out of 10. It's like, you know.
I know that game so well. I can start playing it, and about an hour and 10 minutes later, I've not only beaten it, I found everything on top of it.
That's a great one. Number 2, definitely. I can't believe I'm the first one to put this on my list, but Ocarina of Time.
It's not fun to go back to for me.
I love it.
I love Ocarina, but I think Twilight Princess is the natural progression from Ocarina of Time.
Yeah.
And that's why I like Twilight Princess.
I can agree there. I think we all were waiting for that natural progression, and they gave us, like, to me, like, I was the other day I was talking to Justin, and I was like, I don't like fat baby Link, and so, like, to me in Ocarina of Time, the whole game, you know, that first half, you're building up to, like, you grow up and you're like badass adult Link, and then they're like, and now we have a sequel where you get to be chubby baby Link the whole damn game, and it's timed, and the moon's coming at you, and it's scary, and I'm like, I don't want to play this. So I didn't master later,
and then take the next follow up to that, where you're
and make it even more cartoony,
where you're playing another version of chubby baby Link on the ocean with no land hardly.
So yeah, but I mean, Ocarina of Time, I know some people say it doesn't age as well. It's kind of like the Final Fantasy VII of games, where some people, like, if you didn't play it growing up, love it as much. I still think that game is great. I still think the level design, the dungeon design, the character design, the world, the way the whole world is just made. It reminds me of A Link to the Past, and the way that it's just the structure. Just once it gets in your head, it makes so much sense, because it's like, of course the mountain is over there, of course the fucking, you know, the Zoras are here. Like, I don't know, I just love that game. And the music. I mean, that game has like the best music I have any.
I love the forests. I like the forest dungeon music.
I mean, but yeah, that forest.
Forest temples.
It's so cool. It's so cool.
So much. Both of y'all doing that at the same time actually sounds a lot like that.
I know.
You can't do it like one.
We just need the other person going in with the ha 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 ha, with the little laughs that come in real heavy at the end.
Oh god, yeah, that temple made me feel insane.
The warping.
And then I was gonna say, and then of course anyone that's ever played the original version of the N64 Ocarina of Time can't stand the Fire Temple any edition past that, because you know it was much better when it was racist.
I don't actually remember. I do remember. Was it? Is it the chant? It's like some sort of chant that they got rid of.
Yeah, it was a Muslim prayer that somebody found on some Creative Commons website. Like, that sounds really good. Let's slow it down and stick it in the background. And so they literally, the next release, where they wiped out all the Muslim references, so the blocks changed, the symbol, the mirror shield lost its crescent moon and star, and they took the chants out of the Fire Temple, and they literally just threw the original dun 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 by itself. And then, okay, we need to do another revision. They just took the screams of pain from the Shadow Temple and inverted them, and that became the new Fire Temple chants.
You know what's not terrifying? Inverted screams of pain.
Yes.
That's the new metal band I'm starting. But yeah, I think the other thing about Ocarina of Time is that it to this day, I still think it instilled a fear in me. There's a lot of times in that game it felt like a freaking horror game. There's so much. The Shadow Temple is, when I was a child, that was terrifying.
See, I always found Under the Well a little bit scarier.
Under the Well, yeah, Under the Well is terrifying.
Yeah.
And that's why I think like Ocarina of Time doesn't like, yeah, it didn't get its full spiritual successor until Twilight Princess, because we just had these kind of sunny Zeldas in between, which were all great, by the way. I mean, I'm not saying like that's the problem with Zelda. It's like it wasn't what I wanted, but it was still really good. And then my third favorite is always teetering back and forth between Wind Waker and Twilight Princess. It always just I change my mind constantly on it, but I think it's generally Twilight Princess, because it's what I wanted as a kid. It was the sequel I wanted to Ocarina of Time that I didn't get, and I had to wait for like 1,000 years. And then that game took like 7 years to make. I remember watching trailers to that freaking game in high school and not playing it till I was like a year ago, like graduated. Like, yeah. But it was well worth the wait, man. Twilight Princess is awesome. And I loved, I'm different than Anselmo, actually. I loved that weird bloom that happened in the visuals. That weird, like, over foggy lighting, bloomy thing that they did with all that stuff in the Twilight Realm. I don't know why. I just really liked it.
I mean, I like it. I just couldn't see anything. I have really bad vision, so it's like I need more definition, man.
It never bothered me, but I will say the one thing about Twilight Princess that bothered me as a player is the very first time I played it and owned it was the GameCube version, which is also the HD remake for those that aren't quite old enough. But playing it on the Wii, because it was also just like Breath of the Wild, a launch title for the Switch, it also released on the Wii U. Twilight Princess was a launch title for the Wii. And so while I consider the GameCube version to be the superior version out of the two, a lot of people had their exposure with the Wii version of it, which there's no greater feeling than playing the Wii version of it. Everything's backwards if you're used to the original map. And then in order to attack, you're literally...
Yeah, but there's no point. It's not like Skyward Sword where it actually tracks your motion.
No, it's literally just wiggle.
Yeah, that's literally what you're doing. You're just like doing this just in order to make him move. So you're like,
I hate that so much.
Yeah. It was clearly it was like, clearly Breath of the Wild was designed, for the Wii U and and the Switch together, just like you said. But unfortunately, with the Switch and the Wii U were such similar systems that the translation was fine, versus this they like shoehorned in those motion controls because that was the Wii's selling point.
That was the gimmick. Woo.
And it was just like, and I remember telling people, I was like, they were like, "Oh, you got it on GameCube? What a loser!" I was like, "Well, I can't buy a Wii right now, And I was like,
if you only knew.
And they were like, it doesn't even look as good, and it did though.
The hardware was almost the exact same hardware.
It was like the same shit, man. It just had motion controls.
Yeah, there were. I think it had a faster processor, but as far as the internal specs, other than it went back to a full-size disk drive, the Wii wasn't that big an upgrade over the GameCube. It wasn't like going from the Xbox 360 or the PS2 to the PS3. Yeah. It truly wasn't a next generation system. They put in so much effort into the motion control, they didn't really care so much to make a great. Yeah, not to say that they.
That worked out for them, though.
Oh yeah, it did. Well, and I was going to say, and it's not to say that if they legit took the effort into a game, they couldn't make it look better than its previous generation counterparts. Yeah. I'll set Prime 3 Corruption as an example. It's a beautiful game, and it really takes advantage of that hardware, and it does look better than Prime and Prime 2, which is why they updated both the first two games and put them in Prime Collection. Prime Trilogy, sorry.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because like the most significant jump we've seen in the Nintendo consoles was from like there's almost no jump from the Wii U and the GameCube, and there was also almost no jump from the Wii. The GameCube and the Wii, and there's also almost no jump from the Wii U to the Switch. There's a very small jump from the Wii U to the Switch, but it's pretty small.
I would say it's not so much of a jump hardware wise, if you really think about it, because you're taking a platform, a system that's about yay big, had basically full computer hardware into it, and they're getting the same, if not slightly better performance out of a tablet.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I mean, they're talking.
It's convenient over technology. So it actually made sense this way versus the Wii, with its motion. It was just gimmick at the end of the day. So it's like the Wii is still the second best selling console of all time, and it might stay that way unless the Switch can surpass it. But it's just, literally though, that's one of the worst systems to go back to because it was just full of shovelware and full of gimmicks and full of, because it was just like the system your grandma would play.
But it's the best place to play like rail shooters with the Wii, because that's like the best way to play. Because I don't know, I love playing rail shooters on the Wii.
Like,
and also the first generation Wii's. Sorry, I apologize, Robert.
No,
talk
the
over
best
him.
place to play Link's crossbow training.
Yeah, I actually enjoyed playing that game. Okay,
it's all right.
I was gonna say the first generation Wii is the best version of the GameCube. So I'd rather have a Wii first as a replacement for a GameCube, as long as it's one of the first generation. Plus, it came in fed.
You can play it in 560 or whatever the component cables.
It also will upscale onto a flat screen, whereas the GameCube cannot.
So speaking of Link's crossbow training, that brings me to my least favorite Zeldas, and that is not Link's crossbow training. I don't know that even qualifies.
No,
I forget.
It's like a separately released mini game, basically.
Yeah, I mean, like, is like Hyrule Warriors, is that a Zelda game? Like,
no, that's a Warriors game.
Yeah, that'd be like saying Cadence of Hyrule is a Zelda game.
Yeah. What? It's not?
But it has Hyrule in the title.
My least favorite Zelda game is Spirit Tracks. Sorry. I also hate Phantom Hourglass. I don't. And then I don't know, anything where I can't, because my favorite thing to do is to control Link, to be in control of the persons. That's why I don't like a lot of strategy RPGs, or I don't like a lot of games where like Civilization Builders and stuff where I got to click and pull a guy over here, because I want to be in control and like I want to feel like I am Link, and those games took that away from me. I think Phantom Hourglass gets the edge because you still got to go sail around in the boat, versus to me, Zelda's always been about these cool modes of transportation, whether it's your wind sail in Breath of the Wild, or the bird in Skyward Sword, or Epona in most other Zeldas, or the boat in Wind Waker, or the train.
Yeah, the train's awesome.
The train.
It has a cannon on it.
No, you shut up.
It has
the King of Red Lions has a cannon on it.
Yeah, they're both awesome.
Trains are on tracks, man. The whole point of Zelda is to explore. How can I explore when I'm on a fucking track? Off-road train. Give me an off-road train.
Oh, that sounds awesome.
Well, then Robin probably
awesome.
should not play the Oracle games then, because both Oracle games feature a dungeon that is built around train and park.
No, I know. I never finished Oracle of Oracle of Seasons, which is the puzzle one, and which is the combat one.
Ages is the puzzle one. Seasons.
Yeah. Okay. So Seasons, I played the most of, and yeah, I see. I don't mind a dungeon revolving around a train, but don't make the whole damn game. Don't make my transportation be a train. Most RPGs and most games like that.
But you didn't just sit there and no. But you didn't just sit there and the train didn't just go.
Twilight Princess and a horse. You get a wolf and a horse.
But
how many games do you get a wolf and a horse?
But do you remember how you didn't just set the train and it just went on its own? You had to pay attention, switch the tracks at the right time, you had to watch out for enemies. It wasn't just, okay, I'm gonna get on the train, I'm just gonna sit here and wait for the thing to get here. That's you. That's you right now.
I hate it even more listening to you talk about it. It's not just like you just drive the train. You have to switch the tracks at the right moment.
And you get to shoot stuff.
For the monsters.
Oh wow, you get to do stuff during your transportation. That sounds so terrible.
That sounds like Wind Waker. Oh, I need to go to Windfall Island, but the wind's blowing this way. Well, I got to play I got to change the wind direction.
Yeah. Well,
it's almost like they might be kind of the same.
Oh yeah, but you're on a dragon, and it's a boat and a dragon. So that's also cooler. Wolf and horse, dragon boat, or train.
Whatever. He's a douchebag king who got turned into a boat. Big whoop.
He's a douchebag king that turned himself into a boat because
Even
he can
worse.
progress peacefully.
What an
Hey.
idiot!
Haven't we all been there? You know?
Hey, but at least the King of Red Lions was one of the good kings of Hyrule. You know, we could have one of the last kings of Hyrule who turned himself into a hobo.
Hey, I mean, I've been there.
just like we've all turned each other into a boat, we've all been into hobos as well. So
No comment. I don't know what that is.
hey, I mean, you know, I'm just saying, it's cheaper.
It's warmer. So there's definitely
Don't change the subject.
So the Zelda seems to have split into two through lines. You got the 3D, which the 3DS seemed to turn back into the exploration, and then you have the top down, which seems to be keeping the not classic, but the kind of second age kind of Zelda, like, because they're basically like keeping Link's Awakening design kind of alive.
Well, Zelda 1.
Yeah, but it was perfected through Zelda 3.
Zelda.
Because
3.
Zelda 1, you were
Link to the Past.
Zelda 3, okay. I remember before that game came out, it was billed as Zelda. I remember in magazines.
I'm gonna call Link's Awakening Zelda 4 from now.
No,
on.
but in magazines back in the day, they was like, and they showed screenshots. It's like Zelda 3 coming 1990. It was like Zelda 3. Well, shut up.
Technically, Link's Awakening was supposed to be originally a direct sequel to, and they were gonna put it on console, and then I don't remember why, but they decided to just develop it for the Game Boy.
No, that's incorrect. It was supposed to be a port of Link to the Past made for the Game Boy.
That's
and
right.
They decided to make it its own separate game. That's
Which
why
is
it's so
such a-
quirky, because
Such a smart
Miyamoto's
idea.
Miyamoto just like literally, I don't care what you do, and walked out.
Put
And
the
that's why
chainsaw
there's
thing.
Bibos
I
and
don't
stuff in
care.
it. Yeah.
I love the weirdness. That's probably, if I had to, like, if there's a number 4, it'd probably be Link's Awakening, just because
I really loved the Link Between Worlds. I really
there's
really
not
enjoyed
enough
it.
love for that game. I think it's just
I
because
love that game.
it's new and it's stuck on the 3DS. If we got like some sort of like HD cleaned up
Oh,
little port to the
You'd be
Switch, that would be
real
amazing.
happy.
Yeah, because they really don't need the 3D mechanic. I mean, which of us, actually played it with the 3D turned on?
No, I
Played it with 3D on. What is wrong with you?
I played almost all my 3DS games with 3D on. I was like, hey, I paid like $200 for this freaking gimmick. I'm going to use it.
I have the.
You ever wonder why my
2DS.
vision's so bad?
I have the 2DS XL, and because I got so mad because I'd always like turn on the 3D and then get real mad at myself because I was like, I hate the 3D. Why do I keep turning it on? So I finally just got one where I didn't have the option.
I was going to say, I think I gave one game an opportunity with the 3D, and I actually
Mario 3D Land.
Mario 3D Land is the only one where I actually enjoyed the 3D experience.
That's the only game that I played on my new 2DS. So I'm like, fuck, I wish I had the 3D.
And now that we're kind of talking about the 3DS, you talked about how badly Ocarina of Time aged. Well,
that's the best way to play it.
Grezzo, I think the guys that did the retouch on the Zelda games. Grezzo did a fantastic job of modernizing Ocarina of Time. It looks fantastic.
Yeah,
it actually really plays well. It had the gyro aiming is probably like the best thing they could have done for that game.
Yeah, I would actually say they did a better job on Majora's Mask than they did, because they added a lot of stuff to Majora's Mask. Majora's Mask that's like the definitive way to play Majora's Mask. I would not recommend anybody.
Some people, there's a big, they're not big.
I'm gonna go to the bathroom real quick.
There's a hate group out there that is really against the 3DS version of Majora's Mask, and there's some minor tweaks that I'm sure like the normal person would never know about, but like there's some purists out there that really hate that remake. I don't know why.
I would say probably the biggest negative aspect of the remake would be for people that played the original and were used to the Zora controls.
Yeah,
because they really did nerf the Zora controls. However, I'm of the camp that if it were me and I had to play a game where I was required to wait around on screen from anywhere from 5 to 25 minutes for an in-game event that happened at a specific time, I would be frustrated, and that's one of the frustrating aspects of Majora's Mask. Oh, well, you gotta catch this person at 4:50 p.m., but you play the song a double time, and your option is dawn, and so you have to wait around until for whatever time. Versus the 3DS remake, where they literally set it to song a double time. You pick the hour of that day. You can set it to a specific hour. That way, if you have to encounter somebody at 4:35 around that time, you just could travel to 4 o'clock, get there, or you could travel to like 3, and then you're only waiting for about, I'd say 3 minutes tops. If you're in regular time, maybe 7 if you played the song of halftime. So it did actually make the side quests, which everybody knows Majora's Mask is more about the side quests than the actual main quest. Because there's so much to do in side quests, whereas the main quest is very short. That aspect of it was a lot more streamlined, and that therefore someone could actually, that was dedicated to collecting the masks, it took them a lot less time because they weren't literally sitting there going and making a drink or going and getting them something to eat while they were waiting on this specific time to roll around on the game.
Yeah. Yeah, I do think the positives outweigh the negatives. I mean, those people are definitely few and far between as far as the haters.
Not to mention the fact that the Bomber's Notebook is actually useful in the remake. It really wasn't so much in the original. So,
and I think those games, just the way they cleaned up the visuals on both of those remakes were like really well done, and the way that it still feels like you're playing those games, but it just feels so much cleaner and less pixelated. Even though it still feels like you're playing the version you remember, like instead of like the actual version, which is gonna look like trash.
Yeah, I can go back and replay Ocarina of Time 3D, and I still have that nostalgia, even though the graphics are super clean and super polished. I'm still playing Ocarina of Time. It does not feel like I'm having this kind of out of body. Similar to, so actually, I'd say pretty much every Zelda remake that's been done thus far has been phenomenal. The only one I would say that hasn't really been that big a drastic difference would be Twilight Princess, and that's just because they didn't really do a whole lot to it, except
for being a wolf.
Yeah, well, I meant as far as from the original to the remake. I mean that, and they shrunk the fetch quests down a little bit. Whoa,
also,
that?
The one thing I did want to mention before we move on to our final clip is the we were talking about the combat in Twilight Princess and how that might be the best Zelda combat, and I do think it's between Twilight Princess and I think it's like Breath of the Wild, Twilight Princess, and Wind Waker are all kind of in that same camp, but they're all pretty different if compared, like considering they're the same franchise. I think Wind Waker had some really vicious combat to it for it being such a cute game, like the whole helm splitter stuff and how nimble your character was. And then Twilight Princess, of course, they added the wolf combat, which was really cool when you would lock on to all those dudes and you would just like dash through everybody and just fuck them all up. Shut up.
Well,
I do not like Wolf Link combat. The Wolf Link sections in that game, my least favorite part of that game.
Well, it just feels like you're playing Okami.
But I mean, yeah, I agree with the credit on that. The combat that was introduced. So all the combat that was introduced in Wind Waker was reused in Twilight Princess. The difference is in Wind Waker, if you wanted to use a helm splitter, you kind of had to wait for the enemy to come towards you. You'd be locked on, and then your A button would flash on screen. And if you hit it timing wise correctly, you would either jump over and do the helm splitter, or you would roll around, whatever. Those moves in Twilight Princess were optional. You didn't have to go out of your way to find them, but if you did, you could use them at any time. You didn't have to wait on the game to cue you. Oh, by the way, you can do this now.
Yeah. And then of course, Breath of the Wild again was sort of a evolution of that same combat, but they added the slow mo. They almost encouraged also you kind of waiting for the enemy to strike first so that you could activate the bullet time. But that being said, so so we've established that we really fucking love this franchise and pretty much every game in it, and even the ones we don't like. Like, I would still right now, like, talking about how much I hate Spirit Tracks. I still kind of want to go play Spirit Tracks right now.
And
Like,
you guys talking about good combat. I'm probably alone in this, but I love the combat in Skyward Sword. I felt supernatural.
Oh no, I
Playing
don't have an issue with the combat in Skyward Sword. The issue I have with the combat in Skyward Sword, no, I don't, is that the Wii Motion Plus just wasn't accurate enough for it. There
Yeah,
were times
that
where
was
I
my
really
problem.
needed to execute. For example,
I
the
never had
second
this
or
problem. So
the second or third battle with Girahim required, there were some really precise moves you had to do to dodge the knives that he was spelling at you. And half the darn time, I would do that exact move. I would be spread out enough where I could, telegraph that move. And my Wii remote, all of a sudden, Link could go, "Ugh," like off to the side. And so, no, it was not, it didn't have enough accuracy for it to be engaging, because it would break the immersion. That's the problem, is if it had been more accurate and it had worked, I would have been more immersed. But when, you're talking about Skyward Sword's very immersion based. You get into it because you're Link.
Yeah.
You got your sword, you got your shield, and you're in Link. But if you're sitting there and you're trying to do an upwards or like a skyward strike, or a horizontal thrust to hit a Baku Baba, to cut it across this way because that's how it's open, and Link just randomly there goes.
yeah,
your
I just don't remember that happening a lot when I
Yeah, it happened to me all the fucking time.
Yeah.
It's literally gotten to the point now where most people that play Skyward Sword literally sit there and they just do this all the time, because it's easier to just literally sit there and shake your arm until it's tired and just rush your way through all the combat to get into the other parts of the gameplay, because a lot of people just the Motion Plus is not that accurate.
So before we move on to the last thing I wanted to say, I am curious, what do you guys think about when Skyward Sword inevitably gets ported maybe over to the Switch in some sort of Zelda HD trilogy or whatever they're going to do? How do we see that working? Do you think they're going to stick with the motion controls? Is there any way we can get around it?
I don't think there's a way to get around it.
Because
without totally reprogramming the.
Yeah, it would require a complete rebuild from the ground up. The thing about it is while the Joy-Cons do have motion control to them, I don't think they have accurate enough motion control for Skyward Sword, and that's unfortunately. That's one of those things. Now, could they do a pseudo 2D / kind of bridge game to kind of do the story, or at least let people get to the story of Skyward Sword? It would really hurt, but I don't see a way without them doing a lot.
Yeah, I mean that was such a narrative focused game anyway. That's not totally radical,
Yeah.
Well, just like narrative wise, like it's a narrative heavy game. Like the game is pretty.
It's probably the most narrative heavy Zelda.
It definitely is. And it's so funny because right after that you have Breath of the Wild.
The same director, literally the same fucking guy who made that game. I mean, he did like a total. I think he just got enough backlash from Skyward Sword, and he did the whole opposite. He was like, okay, less narrative, more freedom. You got it.
Well, and they had been wanting to do a open world kind of Zelda 1 style Zelda forever, and this was the first opportunity they had to really explore that option. I mean, Breath of the Wild, hands down, is one of the best Zeldas ever released. I don't put it up there as one of my top favorites, because there are other aspects of Zelda that were missing in Breath of the Wild that I really enjoyed. The dungeons, the unique dungeon items, the puzzles. There are the shrines had puzzles in them, but they were nowhere near as complex as some of them. Then again, a lot of the recent Zelda games haven't really had a lot of complexity in dungeons. I mean, I would say I got lost once in Skyward Sword, and that was the Ancient Cistern, because I couldn't figure out you could dolphin dive up onto the shore.
I remember that.
Twilight Princess also got me once, and that's because I had forgotten that you could make bomb arrows to blow down.
Wind Waker had some pretty long dungeons and stuff, but
the Wind Temple was probably the best puzzle dungeon in Wind Waker, in my opinion. Ocarina had the Water Temple and the Shadow Temple were both two of the really good puzzle dungeons. I know a lot of.
You don't think the Spirit Temple was? I thought that one was pretty puzzle heavy.
I would say I mean, it has its moments, but the what is it? Is it Stone Tower where they also play with the mirrors in Majora's Mask? Is it Stone Tower or is it? Yeah, it's Stone Tower. Stone Tower took the whole mirror thing and made it even more complex.
So,
well, before we go, going forward through the series, what would y'all like to see in Breath of the Wild 2?
That was literally going to be what I was going to say.
Snatched it.
Man, I think like just talking about it, I'd like to see. I'd like to see a little bit of return to form. I don't miss the dungeons as much as everyone else. It seems like a lot of people really, really miss that. I'd like to see a little more narrative focus, which I'm sure it's going to be because it seems like it will be. I would also like to play as Princess Zelda. I think some sort of character switching would be super cool, or even if you're just Princess Zelda through the whole damn game.
They should do like a GTA 5 character swap thing.
Literally what I was going to say. It was like if you know, they're like, they kind of have like the game is like, okay, so it's still Breath of the Wild structure where it's like, Link, you need to go do this, but you know, there's other things you can do to power up before that. And then Zelda, you need to go do this because they need your holy powers over here. But there's a couple things you could do to like power up yourself too before you go do that. And you can kind of switch back and forth between them. And like you said, like if they did like a zoom out, you know, and then like and zoom in, and like you zoom in and Princess Zelda's just like riding her horse somewhere, you know, like that would be so fucking cool.
Yeah. I want Ganon. I want all three. I want Ganon as well.
Yes, Ganon. I think that I would like to see the Triforce return. That was something that was not there. I don't hear enough people talk about that there was no Triforce.
There's no Triforce.
And then the last thing I'll say is I miss the thing from Twilight Princess and Wind Waker where you go and you like find those, and it's Skyward Sword too, where you find those, like that guy teaches you the hidden ability and you like learn new like weapon abilities throughout the game. I mean, I get why like that wasn't in Breath of the Wild, sort of, but I don't know. It feels really cool to stumble across that and like learn a whole new ability you didn't know before, and you could flip over an enemy and cut off their fucking helmet. Like that's just cool, man. So
yeah, for me, a way to repair your weapons and items without having to go for an Octorok, so like a crafting system, because I guarantee the durability is still going to be there.
I like the durability, but they need to balance that.
I would like to see, again, proper dungeons, proper themed dungeons with proper dungeon items. Obviously, the dungeon items, they don't need to be like unbreakable hammers and stuff like that, but unique dungeon items that, you know, don't really need anything. I don't know, even if it's like upgrades to the tablet or something, if they go back to using the Sheikah Slate, definitely need to be there. And not so much like, hey, Link, go do this. Hey, Zelda, go do this. But I'd like it to be more where you have leader-follower, where Zelda's with you on that adventure, and when you encounter your enemies and stuff, she's sitting there attacking with you.
She's AI.
And as like an AI. And then if something comes up where you need her, have the ability to switch out, and then Link becomes the follower, you know, type deal. Because I would love to see more.
That could bring some co-op potential too.
Yeah, and then eventually maybe have like a Fable where you have double 2-player type thing going on. Yeah.
That'd be pretty awesome. What about you, Meat Bear?
Meat Bear. Pretty much what you guys said, but there needs to be a new map, because they can't go back. You can't have the same map.
Oh yeah.
I don't know what they're gonna do.
That would be a super bummer.
Yeah, that would be a super bummer. I don't know what narrative they could do to like be like, hey, we're in this new world now or something or whatever.
Well, if it's all underground or something like that.
Yeah, like do something different because I mean what made Breath of the Wild so great was the topography and the world design was so engaging and fun and memorable that if the sequel is just the same memorable topography and world, you're just going to be like, oh, I know what's over there. I know what's over here. I know what's over there. So yeah,
What if
new
they
world,
do? What if
more narrative, definitely more
Yeah.
narrative. I'll be happy with that.
What if Ganon does some sort of, ultra destructo, destroys everything, and it is sort of the same map, but like everything's different.
Yeah, they could do something like that.
Like,
Yeah,
like instead of
definitely.
like lava rivers, instead of I don't know.
Yeah, there was
just-
some sort of like even bigger cataclysm that changed the face of Hyrule. Whatever, just
You
as
love
long as
this
it's different.
cataclysm
Yeah,
crazy, just wait.
I would be okay with certain areas kind of staying there, like
Yeah, or at
Akala,
least, like,
I think,
yeah.
like Akala being there. Obviously, there's that other race that we're going to start seeing more of. I think
Yeah.
the Zonai are going to be a big portion of Zelda Breath of the Wild 2, which will be nice because they've been hinted at, but we've never really seen this race. And I want to say it's their descendants that have Lurelin Village. I think that's who that is, which is why there's that random village of people just out there in that area.
Personally,
Yeah.
I think that
That's
we're going to
pretty
get a mixture of the two. I think we're going to get a lot of a new map, but we're also going to revisit the old map maybe towards the end of the game or at the very beginning of the game. I like maybe not even the whole new map or the whole like original map, but like just a little chunk of it. I feel like they are going to maybe do a little bit of both. Or they could just Majora's Mask it and just say, fuck it, this is a brand new thing.
Yeah.
I mean,
Or
they made
explored to the
Majora's
west.
Mask in 1 year. Like, like that game came out like
Decent
a year or
back
two
then.
after Ocarina of Time. So
Also, a lot smaller landmass than the Ocarina of Time, though,
which I feel like they could do in this too.
because literally Termino was literally a small compass that branched off into the 4 areas you had to go to.
I didn't need. Well, I mean, also, I didn't need Breath of the Wild to be as big as it is. Like, it was awesome, but it wasn't the size of that world. It was just like the cool thing. It was just. I'll say this: more dragons. I want more dragons.
Yeah.
I want to ride those goddamn dragons.
Yeah.
Dragon riding. You heard it
Dragon
here
ride.
first, folks.
Dragon Rider.
Well,
Dragon
does anyone
Rider.
else have anything else they want to say?
Zelda's cool.
Zelda's awesome.
Zelda's rocks, man. He
Zelda?
Octo rocks, bro.
Boom. Boo. Boo.
Stop booing me.
Oh, sorry.
Hey, well, thank
My
you
mic was on.
so much for joining us this week, and thanks to that vegan, the nerdy vegan,
Spot on.
Got it.
Spot on, mate.
That nerdy vegan, Justin.
Not
Beck,
this one.
go-
Wait, on that
go
one.
look
That
him
one.
up. Stay tuned for his content. Appreciate you guys tuning in. If you haven't subscribed, liked, bell it up, like it up, subscribe it up, uppercut and Selmo's in the face. And we appreciate you guys sticking around and listening to us gab like little girls. And we love y'all. Y'all take care. Y'all have a good night now. Wolves are awesome. Horse wolves for life.